So I've landed upside down, underwater, in a river. As the community's growing and we do more and more rides, we frequent Windrock, I don't know, 7, 8 times a year easily. And as we started to do more and more of these rides and the community got bigger and more people were coming, you're out there and you're breaking stuff, you're damaging stuff, you're smacking fenders, smacking doors, popping tires, hitting boulders, having to pull people that get stuck. The reality started sitting in that somebody can really get hurt. I felt the responsibility to do more, to actually go and get training, to actually go and get certified. So I went and started looking at doing the International Four-Wheel Drive Trainers Association certification. Those are basically the guys that they train the military and the military train their guys. That is a very, very hard certification to get. That is a very serious and dedicated certification. Also with survivalmed.org, I did all my medical training with them. So I'm a certified wilderness first responder. Now I'm working on my associates with my medicine with them. They've been a great organization to deal with. So it got to the point where when we do rides, it's also having someone who's trained both in the recovery and then also in the medical standpoint of if something were to happen. So a couple weeks ago, we were out doing a feature with Nitto on my Cayenne and Jay's gray Cayenne that I did about an East Coast rig versus a West Coast rig, and then doing a trail review on the tires for the East, and then of course just on the Cayennes, my Cayennes themselves. And we had a great day. We were out all morning, all day, and it was getting to be late afternoon. And we were like, well, let's get back so we can have a drink and share pictures and wrap up for the day. We were coming back. We ended up doing a shortcut, right? So it was just a regular dirt road that went up through the ranger station over in Dahlonega. And Jay and Tom, the team I was with, they were in front of me. I was riding solo. And I was in the back this time. It was super dry out. All the dust, it was so dusty. We were pacing ourselves out, and we were coming up onto a curve to the right. And of course, you can't see anything. So no, we're not speeding. There were other people. We had passed traffic before on the road, and so there were other people out. I couldn't even see Jay's taillights in front of me. As we come up through this curve, I'm following the foliage on the left, and I'm staying to the left so I can see around the road to the bend. And I could see further down if somebody was coming. Jay and Tom were already gone, and I'm just coming up around, and all of a sudden I feel the Cayenne starting to pitch. I was like, oh boy. I thought I was gonna start sliding sideways. And then I fell on my side, and I was like, it was a hard fall. And I was like, all right, well, that's not good. We're towing this thing out of here. And then I realized I was upside down when I landed upside down and stopped suddenly. And I was like, oh man, I'm upside down. Well, then the water came in. What I didn't realize, what I could not see, as I was following the foliage stopped, and I went over and went into a river. So I've landed upside down, underwater, in a river. And I was like, this is my grave. It was not an easy roll. We weren't speeding. We weren't driving too fast for conditions or anything. It was just an accident. It's the exact kind of scenario that they talked about in training. They talked about in certification. It's just an accident. So I knew as I came over, I was like, this isn't good. I landed upside down. I was like, this really isn't good. The water came in, and I'm underwater up to my neck. It took a minute, and I knew, I was like, this is it. This is how I go out. And I couldn't see anything on the outside of the Cayenne with all the dust. Inside the Cayenne, could see everything. But as I went over, blew out the driver's side window, the roof completely collapsed in. the windshield came in, and as I was upside down, it took a couple seconds. And when the river came back in, that's when I knew I had to do something. So I try to gather my composure as best I can. I pull myself up to get a breath, and then put my head back down underwater, get my back against the seat, and pull myself up to get the tension off the seatbelt and hit the receptacle. And I fall down back into the river and had to swim out the driver's window. My team had already gone up. Of course, they didn't know, they didn't even know. And so I get up the embankment. It was about a 20-foot embankment. I get up the bank. There was another car coming as I'd already walked down the road, and I waved the guy down, and I'm bleeding all down my arm from the glass popping. And I waved the guy down. I was like, "Hey, can you go up and get those two guys or buddies of mine?" He had gotten out of his car, and I was like, "I had gone off the road over here, and if you could go up and catch them, I would appreciate it." I turned a point where I had gone off, and he pauses me, and he's like, do you need to sit down? Are you okay? And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." He goes, "No, man, the back of your head." And I reach back and I just wipe my head, and it's just blood. It's just everywhere. And I was like, "All right, well, if you can go up and get them, I've got a trauma pack in the back of the Cayenne." And he was like, "You sure you're okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I was like, "My neck hurts, my back hurts, but I didn't hit my head. I didn't hit anything inside the car. It was me getting tossed around." So he gets back in his vehicle and goes back up the road to get my buddies Tom and Jay. And I get back into the river, swim back into the Cayenne, get into the back. Obviously, everything's everywhere. I get the trauma pack and pull it out from in between the cooler, a rear axle, a front axle, and a ARB air pump. Pull the trauma pack out and get back out of the Cayenne. And I had to patch myself up. By that time, Tom and Jay had already gotten back. The guy who stopped was there and helping. And I'm on the back of the guy's pickup truck, and I'm, patching the back of my head up, getting all the blood off my arm and everything. And the cops show up, and they're like, "I don't think you're the first one," because the river had recently cut away part of that curve in there, and it gets there's a picture where I'm standing in the middle, and you can see how narrow the road got, and I never saw it. It was an honest accident. It was just coming around and just rolled straight over. Every single panel was hit except for the rear hatch. It's the only panel that wasn't hit. So I'm patching myself up. Cop's there, and he's like, "Are you good?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm not severely injured." I was like, "It's my neck and my back," but he was like, "Well, sit down." So, I was sitting on the back of the truck, and I was looking at Jay, and I was like, I can't sit here, man. I was like, my neck is burning. My back is burning. And we're in the middle of nowhere. And I was like, I can't sit here. I've got to keep moving. Normally you don't want to do. But I had, with the training and certification, I had enough to know that, I didn't have a concussion. I had Tom help me self-check for a concussion. And I knew I didn't hit my head. My head wasn't hurt or anything. I could feel everything. Everything was fine. I was like, I got to keep moving. So the cop was like, "Well, what do you want to do? You want to call a wrecker?" And I was like, "We can get it out." The officer's like, "You can get that out?" I go, "We can get it out." I was like, "I've done worse. Not for myself, but I've gotten people out of worse scenarios, so to speak." He was like, "You can get it out. Get it out." So get back in the river. So get back over the Cayenne, get on top of the Cayenne, and Jay and Tom are throwing me snatch block and lines. So I'm hooking everything up to the Cayenne on the bottom. The officer's just standing up there just watching. We're all communicating as we should, treating it like any other recovery. We roll the Cayenne back over in the river, and then we pull it up the embankment back the way that I came in, pull it back up. And it wasn't a ramp or an incline. It was cut off. It took Tom's Bryson and then Jay's Cayenne, and we roll it over, and then we pull it up, pull it out. It took us about 2 hours to get it out. And the officer was super nice. Didn't get a ticket, no citations. He's like, "I kind of wish you were speeding. At least you probably would have landed on your wheels instead of upside down." And I was like, "Well, It's one of those scenarios. Even though you do everything as you're supposed to do it, accidents happen. And that was always the fear for me in doing rides and doing all this stuff, as to if something were to happen, what do you do? Because the guy I waved down didn't know how to medically help. Tom and Jay, they were already halfway down the road, you know, and of course I know if I hit my head and been knocked out, they would have jumped in, you know, and been there. But even, you know, in a situation like that, one, being underwater, two, a rollover, you don't know how, you know, knowing how to stabilize the neck, having the equipment to do that, the training to do stuff like that is what was always one of my biggest fears in doing these. Is, all right, so I always felt I needed to do something more. Not that I'm expert, not that I some kind of medical doctor, but being able to go through with survivalmed.org, looking at all the criteria with International Four-Wheel Drive, stuff like that they offer, and things that you can work towards, played the role into when I talked to the doctor with Survival Med who did my certification. When I told her about it, she's like, "This is amazing." She was like, "Well done." I'm sore, you know, I've been out of work. I try to go in a little bit, you know, I've still got glass in the back of my head, but even the doctor, the ER was like, "We're not going to do anything. There's nothing you can do with that. You're not going to go in and cut it out, and like your skin will push it out in time." And I've pulled a couple pieces out as I scratch my head. It's like, all right, but we did everything as we were trained. And, you know, to be able to do it on yourself instead of someone else isn't what I ever imagined, but it's how it played out, and it played out as best as possible. And I'm proud of my guys. I'm very proud of myself, both in being able to know what to do, not to panic, but also how well the Cayenne held up. Even though it's totaled, that is an incredible, incredible rig. Learning everything that we have through this incident and seeing what we've gone through, you know, the biggest question is, what are you going to do next? For me, it's no different than being at the track and having an off, smacking a wall, ripping a bumper at the track, you know, or it's not the first time I've damaged the Cayenne. People ask, you gonna build another? Like, what's next? And it's like, of course I'm gonna build another. Like, the rig's insured, you know, I can't get my time back, but everything else is covered. That's why you have the insurance. I'll be able to build the next one better and nicer than even the blue one was. The blue one was what we developed everything off of. It's what we learned from. So being able to then, now the next one will be more refined. It'll be even better than the last. It'll be even more comfortable. So I greatly look forward to the next several months as we build the new one.
You asked for it, and Auto Tempest now has an app. So head over to your app store now, download it to your phone, and leave them a great review. So now, whether you go to autotempest.com by clicking the link in the description below, or just open up your phone app, you'll be getting access to all the results from all the major listing sites in one place. That is why we love Auto Tempest so much. We appreciate their support of VINwiki over the years, of Car Trek, but most of all because it is exactly where I go every day to find my next car.